Okay, welcome to today's video, which is part one of, I hope, a series of short videos covering the things you shouldn't do and why you shouldn't do them when you're training to become a licensed London taxi driver. So you're going to say, if it's so bad, why do people even do it that way? So to understand that, let's look at the background of what arguments are used to make you think it's a good idea. I'll take each one of those arguments apart. But straight off the bat, many people do that method purely based on the trust and hope that the person telling them to do it that way knows what they're talking about. Let's look firstly at the fact it's the method that TfL suggests you do. Why would they suggest you do it? Why did they come up with this method? So to understand something about this suggested method, it's been in place for a very long time. So far back that there used to be 468 runs on the Blue Book, 936 quarter-mile radiuses to do, and you could do the knowledge in around a year to 18 months. Now, do you really think you could achieve all that information and pass your exams in that time span using this method as described by TfL? Because the truth is, the students were not using the method suggested by TfL. They were instead doing the runs, then finding the points the examiners were actually asking. Why would you want to find anything other than the points the examiners ask? Now, the reason this method is suggested is that the wannabe taxi drivers of the time were largely unacademic and poorly educated. And this method went some way to giving them a study regime. Whether that regime was good or bad wasn't the issue. So by telling them to do this task of runs and searching the radius, they were in some way giving out something instructive. But another factor from this era is they did not need to know anywhere near the amount of places or the level of complexity of the routes that were necessary to be learned on the modern knowledge. Quite literally, this suggested method has no relationship to an efficient way of learning, but totally to being a laborious task to try and make a potential student do some actual physical labor whilst learning. Problem with this is that as the standards have risen over the years and the knowledge has become more and more difficult, then this suggested method becomes further removed from the reality of all we now know about modern study and learning techniques. So how did they come up with this idea to do points in the quarter-mile radius whilst learning 468 runs? They quite literally pulled the idea from thin air, just as a physical task and with zero concern for absorbability and speed of learning or structure.